I found out, I sort of did some soul searching, and when I went to college, first time, they were 16-week semesters, and I struggled halfway there. I was a good student, I passed the class, but I got bored and disinterested. Then when I went back to college, they were 8-week semesters, loved it. So I can't have that long-term situation for me, myself, and I.
Yep.
I need little mini things along the way, so I'm in that process now.
I think everyone does. You just figured it out.
Mini process.
Because, pardon my mouth, when we have this big why that comes to fruition in 20 years, that means we have 19 years, 11 months to procrastinate. Right? So you got to figure out, what does this mean in 5 years? What does this mean in 1 year? What does this mean in 1 month? What does this mean this week? What does this mean today? Giddy up. Right? So you just have clarity that says, that's a someday goal.
Right.
What is my now goal? Blair, did you have another addition on the big why?
Just that it does change. And you know, when I first started, it was just paying bills, and then it grew to travel because I just love to travel, and that became a big why. And now it's getting closer to a time where, you know, we don't really ever have to retire, but getting to a point where I would want to slow down some. So that's kind of my big why right now, is just getting ready for that part.
And I think what could help, because I love when you said travel, if some of you need help with this, go do something that puts you financially hardshiped, and you figure it out. And Jessica Estrada is an agent out of Lake Nona. Probably 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. She's from Mexico. A lot of her family still lives in Mexico. Her family's all across. She hasn't met some of her cousins. And I would love to do an amazing family reunion trip. And we'd figure it out. So I said, what does it look like? When do you want to do it? What's preventing you? And a lot of her prevention was her family couldn't afford to all do this. So we put it on paper, and she ended up booking like an 8-bedroom Airbnb over in Mexico, and any one of her family that couldn't afford to fly there, she flew them. And she booked it not knowing how she's going to pay for it 18 months in advance. And she says, now I got 18 months to figure out how I'm going to pay for this thing. She just created a manufacturer, a big why that says, I've got to go. And she created that memory for her family to do this. So if you have that dream vacation, or if you have that retirement account, or if you have this investment property, just go do it and go, now I got to figure it out. Because there's one thing that we are, is we're resilient. We figure crap out. And we scrape and we scratch, and you know what? We live the next day to talk about it. So go figure it out.
You know, my big why, it evolves, and of course there's a long term, but then there's the short term, and it's all, you know, money based, like not having student loans for my daughter in college and that kind of stuff. Last year was the wedding. This year, it has evolved to the point to where there's a feeling attached to it. And I say that because I'm having a much better year than the last several. And we've already taken 2 vacations, and we've got 2 more planned this year. Things are getting paid off. Not having the anxiety on a daily basis over money, that feeling, that's my motivator right now.
Your big why is probably to never get back to this.
Yeah.
Because you've broken through.
I have to hold on to that. That's because I don't want to go back to that again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that feeling.
Okay, so as we're going to think with a big why, think with big models, think competitively and strategically. It says pretend like you're playing a game of Monopoly. I love my family when we get along. When we play Monopoly, gloves are off. Come on. My wife, you know, my wife, like, we take the rings off, we're going, let's go. Think that competitively, think that strategically. Think with accountability and think with action. Who's holding you accountable? Who knows what you should be doing in addition to you? Maybe some of you don't know what you should be doing. If you do, who else does? And how are they holding you accountable?
I get a text coming to the office today.
From whom? Perfect. This one right here. Perfect. Right, and that's that layer of accountability. Does it work when you get that text?
Yeah, but then 5 minutes later, I have to text her back and be like, so Instructor's broke down, we're gonna take it into the shop.
And it works.
And I feel guilty because then I have to text her back and be like, I can't come in now.
You create consequences if it's important for you, and if you're more productive, then you figure out some sort of consequence. Jean Scott's coach's people said one of her consequences yesterday with one of her clients was you can't brush your teeth until you make the calls. Gross.
Yeah, ew, that's disgusting.
But I bet if you gotta buy into it. My coach asked me, time to put a consequence in, Rick. I was like, all right, what do you have in mind? She said, well, you have to make it up, because if I tell you what your consequence is, it's not gonna be real. And I'm gonna go, I gotta tell you something I'm actually gonna do. So she said, well, some people don't take their kids swim lessons. It's like, I'm not gonna rob my kids for it, right? Because I'm truly not gonna go, sorry kid, daddy sucked this week, you're not going swimming. I'm not gonna go my 2-year-old, right? Yet I bet if I did put it in place, I would know that I'm not gonna let my 2-year-olds, what am I gonna do? A job. So you create some consequences that actually make you go, no way, not gonna happen. Now at the end of the day, if I don't do it, could I just go back on my consequence? And that's just a commitment. Let me figure it out. So for me it was, if I don't do my scheduled Legion during the week, I have to make up all those hours in the weekend. So now I just lost my weekend time because I let other things distract me in the week. That was my consequence. Will it work? We'll see. It's always changing. It's always remotivating. Think talent, think systems. Here we are. Think standards, think knowledge, think skills. We already said this. Learn it for doing, don't learn it for knowing. Think grit. Here is what we think should happen. Yay, right? I want to close 24 homes this year, my first year of real estate. That means I will do 2 per month, and it will happen beautifully and evenly. It looks like this. Now, if you give up and get frustrated or say it's not working right here, do you ever get to this promise? And so if you know what you learned at Ignite, or what you learned in Bold, or what you learned in 36-12-3, we know it's going to work, don't we? Yeah. Yet sometimes we stop doing it right here because we're like, I'm tired. It's not working. I'm not going to do it anymore. Called everyone on my database once and left most of them voicemail. Stop it now. This area is extremely frustrating to be in. And so when you start your year, this day 1, January 1, or this day 1, July 11th, a lot of what's going to happen in the next 30 days is already in the cards of what you did the previous 6 months. It's already in the cards. So if you're brand new, be prepared to be on this track right here. Or if you've not been doing what you're supposed to have been doing, even though you're not brand new, but you kind of decided today's the day, like you're reborn, then be prepared for this. And when you are, it doesn't hurt as bad. And I was prepared for it, and it still stung. It still was like, oh. Yes, ma'am.
I don't even think that reality of success is right, because that arrow needs to come back down and back up and back down and back up.
It's kind of like a stairway, right?
That would be the reality.
It's not like that.
But it even still is. So I was texting an agent who's at a different company today, and he asked year-to-date goals, and I said it was 33. I'm on track, yes. Next year it'll be 60. I'm going to have a whole new reality of success before I start going from 3 a month to 5 a month, because that's 36 to 60. Just like Mariana's experience, when you hired Joey and Hang and Alex, it wasn't like, sweet, now all of a sudden we've doubled our business. It probably took 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and all of a sudden. So meanwhile, you're going, well, Mariana used to do 36 by herself. Now this team I'm responsible for, and we're doing 40? Is this lemon worth a squeeze or juice worth a squeeze? Did that creep into your head at all? All the time, yeah. You were doing the same things. You're absolutely right, Blair. Every time you grow and take the next step, be prepared for that kind of, when is this going to start working? I'm waiting. Yes. Okay, and think profit. How can you identify profit? By having a, you know. Words I'm going to emphasize: habits, models, profit. You need to write them down because you remember them better. Write them down. Habits, models, profit. Your habits will create your results. How do you show up every day? Okay. We're gonna go into the meat. You guys okay with that?
Yes.
The meat. The economic model. We're gonna learn the millionaire real estate agent economic numbers. You're gonna focus on your 3 key economic areas. We're gonna preview the model, and then you're gonna build your plan. So on page 9, we got a different chart here, so I'm gonna make sure I'm in the right spot. Yes. Here we go. Some definition. Gross closed income, GCI. This is that 2.5% or that 3% or that 5% or whatever you get. It's the everybody of everybody. Make sense? So everyone knows when you see GCI, that is before, that's what the title company gives to you. Excuse me, not even that. That's what the gross on the HUD settlement statement is. Follow? Then we have cost of sale. What is the cost of sale?
Marketing.
In terms of this, because you guys aren't wrong in terms of kind of like your commission split.
Yeah.
Marketing would be more of an operating expense, right? You said something else, so
Transaction, the brokerage fee.
operating expense. Think percentage. When you think cost of sale, think percentage. The commission split is a percentage. Royalty is a percentage. The 25% referral fee is a percentage. The showing assist is a percentage. The buyer's agent percentage. Rachel being on a team is a percentage, right? If you're a buyer's agent on a team, your cost of sale will be larger, your expenses will be smaller. Because you are giving them money that they will then have expenses for. Does that make sense? And then so operating expenses, think not commission. Think what you're writing checks for, and hopefully it pans out. So the copies, the postage, photography, your MLS dues. Now can we say that I only get photography on listings when I actually get a listing? Yes. Yeah, if that listing doesn't close, does the photography company reimburse you?
Still expensive.
Do they say, you know what, just pay me at the end? Now we could argue a little bit, we can't, but some of you might, the transaction coordinator. I pay them $300 only if it closes. That might be true, yet they don't get a percentage of the commission. It's still $300, regardless if you make 2,000 or 10,000. Make sense? So it's still an operating expense. Any questions around the definitions? We good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, instruction. All right, if you are what I would call loose with your business expenses because you like having fantastic write-offs to pay less taxes. Anyone there? I say loose, maybe it's generous with what you write off. You don't want to write off some things that is legit, yet it's a little bit generous. Give me some examples.
Well, closing gifts, I kind of go above and beyond.
You're like, I dare you to audit me. If you do, I'm screwed, but hopefully you don't. Yeah.
And then just like really bad about, I've got, buyer referral, and then I've got this thing I pay for, and I've got this thing I pay for, and okay, let's try this, and let's try to see this instead of actually sitting down and seeing, okay, what is my return, what is working for my business, instead of just, oh, sure, I'll do that, sure, I'll do this, sure, yeah.
Has anyone ever, because that's an example that actually is for the business, and so I would associate it with part of your P&L. Has anyone ever gone to dinner with somebody, and because they happen to also have the real estate license, you go, put it on my write-off tab. Right? You're married to your business partner, so you can probably, every one of your meals you'd write off if you wanted to.
Well, we have to mention real estate on there, so.
Yeah. By doing that, it's completely legal and legit, yet you're crushing your margins. If you do that, and your CPA says yes, do that, do it, keep separate line items, so we can actually monetize what are our margins. How much are we actually putting towards lead gen and real meals and real entertainment? If you go on vacation and happen to pop in and teach a class while you're on vacation, then you spend the next 4 days actually on vacation, but then you get to write off your hotel, your airfare, and your rent-a-car, maybe legitimize what was it really. That make sense? I say that so you can have an accurate P&L. So you're not going, well, I made no money again. I had a really good time on my business trips. Okay, some model assumptions. Here's what they're gonna assume. The average sales price is $238, $333. It's pretty accurate for what we're doing, right? I'd say it's kind of Oviedo-esque. Or at least aura.
Yeah, or.
So we're gonna assume the following: the buyer side will be a 50-50 split. Seller side, 1.25 million GCI. They will produce a cost of sale of 125,000. You guys need to know what your average commission is. If you have some closings, you can now pull out Kelly, and you can say, "Look at my average sales price," and she will tell you what it is. If you like it, ask her, she'll tell you. If you don't, because you don't want to see the truth, or if you don't have enough to have a truth, then just use the numbers we use here. So here's what's fun. If we look at what it takes to net $1 million, if your average commission is 1,000, then you only need to close 2,500 units. Thank goodness most of us have a commission higher than 1,000. If your commission is closer to 10,000, you need 250 units. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know yet, and of course I can ask Chuck this too, but you're here, if they end up, if I ask them what my average closed commission is, do they have it set up for teams yet? Or because I have everything under Chuck's name, it's only.
Sales price is GCI driven. It'll tell you your sales, not what your splits and cost of sale or anything else is.
But I just didn't know if it would come up under a single agent name, or if it at a point that it recognizes us as part of the team yet.
Don't know.
Okay.
I do know, because when I do it, it says 410. I was in a team for a good chunk of that, and it took our total sales price, not
I'll look at
not
it.
205.
I'm just curious.
No. Yep.
So, somebody that's the last 3-4 years has been growing, should we look over the whole time and average, or can I just look at this year?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it's a $50,000 difference, so it does matter. To me, that matters, because
I would use last 12 months, because that's a more accurate snapshot
That's
of
what I want.
your database and your market.
Okay.
I say it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's going to be unit driven. And you might get one that goes up here, and within a month, it closed 950 and 91. It's
Right.
still maybe right here, right in our average. So you're going to have these outliers, but I would go for much further than 12 months. So I guess it does, if you wanted me to dive into it. Okay. So this is what it's telling us we're doing. So gross, Vince, I apologize. I told you 2.4 million. Look what the book just told us. You said 2.5. You were correct.
I remember somewhere.
Here, you do. Finish.
Get some candy.
Much better.
All right, so we're going to say half your business comes from listing, half your business comes from buyers. Listing cost of sale 125, buyer cost of sale 625. Everyone scratch your heads together. What? Why is that different? What
But
is
they're
that?
4 times the amount of work, but
Was that?
The cost of sales?
Why is the cost of sale, if they both generate the same GCI, why is this 5 times as much?
You're hiring buyers agent.
Yes.
Or would that be cost? That would be cost.
it's a lot more work driving around, showing, and all that type of stuff. 4 times the work for a buyer than it is for a seller.
That's percent off the top,
That's,
right?
that's operating cost, right?
That'd be a percent.
This is cost of sale, not operating.
Because you're writing half of the buyer agent?
Also for the operating.
A lot of it goes to splits. Because it's common now that buyer's agents will receive a higher split. Listing agent will receive, oftentimes when you get to this level, a salary with a small split, or a 10% or 20%, or 75 grand plus commission sort of thing. So it is because a listing agent, if this is all they did, if I told you you've got a stack of listing, hot, ready to go listings, you got 2 days, take it, go out there, convert it, close it. You don't even have to input it in the thing. How many listings can you take in 2 days?
Probably do all of them.
How many's all? 10? 20? Every hour? Every 2 hours? Like next, right? If I told you the same thing and you've got, here's buyers, they're ready to go, they're pre-approved, just go show them his houses, get them under contract, do all that. Then how many buyers under contract? not 10 or 20, right? And that's where it comes in with the time it takes to do it. And then you're gonna have your operating expenses of $750,000. And that's a big number, $750,000. If we move the decimal one and you guys would like to, instead of netting $1 million, net 100,000, I imagine that's at or maybe below some of the goals that we have in here. So that 100. Then would this suggest to have $75,000 in operating expenses? It would. Now we already said if I gave you $1, if you gave me $1 and I gave you 3 back, you'd give me as much as you could. And so by doing this, if you give me $75,000, I'd be giving you at least $225,000 back. You see how that just works? So when you have your closings, are you taking a piece of that and putting it in your business first? Or are you taking a piece of it, surviving in life, and then hopefully you have enough to pay your business to get an ROI? Because if I go, hey, I'm ready for another $1 to give you another 3 to 1 or 5 to 1, and you go, oh, I spent that on a new car last month, so I can't do that. Ooh, I spent that on this vacation. I spent this on something I probably shouldn't have. And oftentimes, we, independent business owners, call it restaurant owners or realtors, do that. The first entity you pay is your business. Because I promise your personal expenses do not have an ROI. It's gone. Your business does, yes ma'am.
The first entity I pay is Uncle Sam.
Yes.
Then
Well,
and then my business. And then my business.
I actually don't,
No?
because
I don't remember what.
Uncle Sam doesn't tax me on what I spend. So I put $10,000 in my business account. I pay my business 25%. Here you go, business. Go spend it. I take $7,500 in my personal account. I go, okay, so what's 25% of $7,500? I go, here you go. Here's your piece, Uncle Sam. So I just wrote off $2,500.
Do you do it after your expenses?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
After.
Yeah.
I usually do it before.
Because I'm writing it off, so I don't get
But I
taxed on my
file it
expenses.
jointly also.
And that's how my money trickles. My money just goes here, and I go, all right, you keep 25 for expenses, and that'll go up once I get an assistant, because right now I am my own assistant in large part, right? And then I get paid myself. Now, so here taxes, that's you. And then I go, hey honey, this is my money just made. And she,
Realistically, it doesn't matter where you put your money, your estimated taxes, put it aside somewhere.
yeah, wherever you do, yeah. Because, and I'm not gonna go too much into this, but essentially I'm set aside 25% for taxes. And my adjusted taxable income this last year was like 17%. So I asked my CPA, I was like, can I just give 20%? Can I only allocate a little bit less? Like, keep doing 25. Let's just, I'd rather you have it than not. So let's keep doing that.
I just always do it before business one, that's good to know.
Yeah, because you write it off anyway. And you probably are always overpaying taxes.
I pay them directly, actually, I don't.
Okay.
Just use TPS, whatever that is online.
We're going to get into budget model a little bit. Here, let's keep going with economic. The 3 key areas are going to be appointments, conversion rates, and your critical levers. The 4 conversations. Now this has changed, I believe, and maybe you can help me, that when it was created, it said listings taken was truly, you've listed a house and have your sign in the yard. And now it is, like bold counts it, of buyer listing agreements or seller listing agreements. So a listing taken is a piece of business, not just a sign in the yard. So we have your critical levers, your appointments. Where are you, Rick?
Yeah, it's not in our thing.
Then look at the screen. Page 36 of my manual. And it says right here as well, if you ever need an extra guide. What page?
31.
31.
You're skipping kind of all the homework worksheets.
And the agent, yeah. We're trimming 5 hours of fat. So I apologize if this is an 8-hour course. Listings taken. Listings taken, appointments lead to taken. When you take it, it leads to closings. When you close, it leads to
Profit.
if your all 4 of them are falling short. And I could tell you only focus on one. Which one do you focus on?
Appointments.
Why?
So what you can control.
It's the first domino.
Yeah.
Literally, there's a book on it. It's the one thing. And once you get enough appointments, what's going to naturally happen? Now, your conversion rate might not be as good as it needs to be, so guess what? You got to beef up your appointments if you're only taking half. And so if you plan on taking 3/4, but you only take half, you've got a choice to make. If you have enough appointments and not enough listings taken, yet your closings aren't happening because days on markets are going on, or you're overpricing them, or something, you've got to make adjustments. So we're going to be aware of it. So if we focus on appointments, how many seller appointments did your business or your team have last year? How many buyer listing appointments? This is when it says total listing appointments is buyer or seller. Super confusing. Just keep in mind, how many appointments? If that helps your head. How many appointments? How many appointments do we need? Here's the conversion rates. Now this is not quite from the MREA book, because it used to have 66% and 80%, and then it was inverted. Now they're going 3/4 on either side. It made math simple for us. So essentially this says, once I go on an appointment, I can expect to take 3/4 of them. Once I take 3/4 of them, I can expect to close 3/4 of them. Now this might be higher because your appointments you go on are all sphere of influence, and you're going, I take 95% of my stuff. Slaggers. Then cool, then put 95. If you don't have a number, then you put this. If a professional basketball player shoots 100% from the field, they're probably not taking enough tough shots. So if this is too high, then maybe you're only going on the appointments that are already layups. And there's some other stuff that you're not getting even a chance for because of a conversation you're not having with a FSBO and expired, or an acquaintance who's not quite a raving fan. Does that make sense? So be aware that too high can be a sign as well. Our office has always been around 85% of listings taken actually close. About 15% will expire or withdraw. So if you don't have a number, we're doing stronger. We're in an amazing market right now that things are thriving. When they're not, things will be a little more stale. So these are the numbers we're going to set up our baseline for. This is when we get fun. Pull out your phones, open up the calculator tab. I'm serious. If you don't, unless you're Vince, you're going to get lost. Vince, my numbers guy, right? So here's what we have. The net income. The number that's going to fuel your big why. The number that says, maybe if this is your first year in real estate, it's I'm going to replace last year's income. Whatever job I just left, I'm going to replace it. Maybe it's going to go, that might not be realistic. I'm going to at least do half, because I'm going to know I'm going to be in that ramp up period. Whatever it is, I want everyone to write down a number, and you can change this, because this will be your example, that we will use for your net income. Who does not have a number written down yet? Say aye. All right, I'm going to give you another 12 seconds. Page 11.
This is our net, not our GCI.
Net. Net to the net. If you don't have a net number written down, say aye. Everyone's got it. Fantastic. We're moving on. Take that number, put it in your phone calculator, not just a text. Clarification. Everyone has it in there? Divided by 0.4. Take your net divided by 0.4. That is the total GCI. You know what? I actually believe the next page, check it for me, Tabitha, is a blank one.
Yeah.
Next page is blank. So if you're writing on someone else's stuff, turn it over. So everyone has their first number and their fourth number, agreed?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have it, say aye. All right. No man, woman left behind. Take that number 4 number, total GCI, multiply it by 0.3. And then that is your number 2 and your number 3. To do a quick check of math,
What do you mean by number 2 and number 3?
where it says 750 here,
It's the same number, they're both 30%.
yep. Take your GCI times 0.3 and fill them in here and here.
30% of your GCI is.
So 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 4. Your net income plus your cost of sales plus your operating expenses equals your gross income. Make sense? For buyer's agents, it will not exactly be like this. That's where you and your team have to figure out what these numbers look like. And it probably shouldn't be too far off. It might be 50% and 5%. It'll probably add up to probably close to that 60 still. Okay. Take your average commission. If you don't have an average commission, use this because the numbers they're giving us are pretty accurate. They made it nice and round for us, didn't they? And if you take your total GCI divided by your average commission and push enter, it will give you your units sold.
Yikes. It's back to that scary number that I avoided. Damn it.
We got this.
If you don't know how many units you have to sell, say aye. Okay. Yep. So you got your GCI. 30. So that's your total. Take 75,000. Divide it by 7150. Equals. That's your units. You cannot sell a half a house or a tenth of a house or an eighth of a house. Always round up. So there. You only have to sell 350 units. Excuse me, your team. Because when you think about it, we've already built in $750,000 for an amazing world-class salary and staff and marketing. $750,000 for the best buyers agents and listing agents showing assistants. So this truly is your team. You will net $1 million if your team does 350. Make sense? All right, now half of your business will come from buyers and half will come from sellers.
We're just going with that. We're not even arguing with it. We're just doing 50-50 split.
You put whatever you want. I'm not going to slow down if you want to keep up with stuff, though. Because we're going to crank through. This is a template.
No, I'm okay with 50-50.
Yep.
I just know that
If you know in your heart you are 70-30 or you're 60-40, put it on. Because I'm talking you through it, yet if we just kind of pull back the complexity and ask a second grader to do this, they could. Because it says times equals divided by equal.
well, the objective is to come up with a real number, and we need to be feeling it's the real number.
It's got to balance out. So if this is why I'm going to keep it at 50-50, because we're going to move forward to this as a template. At the end of the day, if you know you sell 70% buyers, 30% listings, make a plan that says you won't.
Repeat that?
At the end of the day, if you know you do 70% buyers and 30% listings, make a plan that says you won't. Let's go 50-50. Right now, my pendings in my last 12 months is heavier on the buyer side slightly. Yet I'm not going to go, okay, this is one of going, we're thinking big because we know the listings generate the opportunities. Not as much as they used to. I get it. Yet they could. Well, interesting is I had a house go on the market. I was like, sweet, love this one's going to be perfect. Before my sign was in the yard, I had multiple offers. I was like, oh, God. I couldn't even hold an open house. I didn't have time doing it. Like, it wasn't even in KWLS yet, so I couldn't put my mask over it for Zillow. I'm going, well.
So we talked about yesterday.
And then a week and a half later, a neighbor called me and said, I saw how fast you sold their house. Can you come list mine? Oh, it does work. So don't think because it's not for sale, you can't still take that and create a campaign around it that says we got under contract multiple offers in 3 days, the market is hot. Who do you know that also needs to sell their house? Because we've got people begging to get in this neighborhood. Does that make sense? So don't always think it's off of sign calls and open houses. That was a limiting belief I had. Okay, so that's just math. Take your total number times 0.5, which is 50%. It gives you your total listings to sell. You have your total listings to sell, times it by 0.75, which we agreed was the conversion rate.
Plus divided by.
Excuse me, thank you. See, Vince told you. Man. Divide it by 0.75. If you divide by a percentage, it goes bigger. And that gives you a bigger number of your total seller listings needed. If we know that we will take 3/4 of our seller listings, divide that by 0.75, and go on that many appointments. If you're throwing up a little bit, it's okay. One of the reasons I like the 50-50 model here, Deb, as well, is it's the same thing.
Beautiful. Yeah, unless you have to split it in half. You can't sell half a house, so.
You're
My
gonna
number was odd.
Round up.
round it up.
I did.
Yeah. So if you think about, you're gonna write in 50%, write in 75, write in 75, new math. If you don't know how many appointments you need to go on, say aye. So everyone's here, so we can move forward. Take that number, divide it by 12. And then take that number divided by 4. That gives you how many appointments per month and how many appointments per week. Who can share with me an example of a net income that you knew when you wrote it was stretching you? A stretch net income. Like you did it, you're like, oh my gosh, it'd be amazing if I could do this. Do I have that stretch goal? Can someone share it with me?
Mine was just 75,000.
75,000. As a stretch goal, like you would be on cloud 9, right? How many is it per week for you?
I don't know because I did that.
You're supposed to say aye. All right, so we're gonna give her a pass.
I was gonna say, it was interesting, is I always put in my mind that my goal is always to get 2 appointments per week. And realistically, because now I'm trying to think of my ultimate yearly goal, team-wise, not what I used to do. And it actually averaged out to be 8 appointments per month, which,
4 on each side.
well, no, because I did a 70-30. So
Okay.
the point is, the total
8 total,
of,
6 and 2.
which, you know, that's really when you talk about breaking it down, is that my goal is to get 2 appointments per week, and that's always my goal. I still have to reach there, but it's, I'm realizing that that's already in my subconscious to get to where I ultimately.
And that just told you 8 a month,
8 appointments a month.
which is how many a week? 2.
Yeah,
And you have someone else doing it with you.
well, yeah,
And that'll net you how much?
well, what, 150.
Awesome. So she did the math for you, Tricia. So she did 150, you did 75. You need 4 a month. Make sense?
Yeah.
So we've got the numbers. Yep.
The only thing, this is for the team model, correct, the cost of sales, because it's much different for a single agent. I think the goal we talked about.
It is.
Still the same.
It is slightly different, and here's where. Cost of sale, not so much, because if you're a solo agent, then a good chunk of your production might be under cap. And cap's 36%. Probably at least going to pay 1 or 2 referral fees out of that. That's 25%. Right?
Well, it says you're paying the listing specialist and the buyer, like agent, you don't have.
This is assuming that you are out of production. If you're a solo agent, you still have some cost of sale. It will change a little bit. You know,
No, but in the book, it says specifically the amount of money paid to a listing specialist, commission split paid to a buyer.
we're going to see it in the budget model.
Right, okay.
Economic model gives you the template to tell you net, gross, operating, cost of sale, divide it, conversion rates, appointments. Remember the 3 levers we need to look at? The leads, listings, leverage, right? Okay, so you've got your conversion rates, you've got your numbers, you've got your plan. Where do you stand? Workshop, Kara, here's one of your workshops that says complete the economic model. So if you wanted to now take this and really go deep with your conversion rates, or you really would like to take it with something that you feel is more of your cost of sale, or you're on a team, when's the first workshop going to be, Kara? She'll come back with it. That way everyone going, well, a little more hands-on.
Tuesday the 16th. Tuesday, next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, post-business plan check with Kara.
Perfect.
10 o'clock.
That's where you can take this back and go, now let me really dive in there. I'm going to put some real custom numbers to it. Does this make sense? Lead generation model. We're at 1:30, so we're halfway. We're doing really good, actually. We're going to spend some time here. Before we do that, questions, ahas, or takeaways from economic model, or even from the thinking. Think a Million, or the economic model chapter.
I have one.
Yep.
When one of the shapes here, how you're dividing your money and your costs. I thought it also that you're dividing your time, like how much time you're pouring into your
Okay.
business. And you're saying like on a vacation or this, or when people start to make money and then go,
Got it.
Good, I've got it, so I can.
Well, it kind of goes back to people working for money or working towards their potential and their goals. Yeah. That was a big one for me. Because it happened without me realizing it happened. And she called me out. She's like, your whole dynamic, and I say she, my coach, your whole language has changed. It's pretty fun to watch. I was like, I'm no longer sweating bullets in my bank account. I said, yeah, I can tell. Because your language has changed. I went a little more accountable, less victim-y, right? Anything else in the first half? Blair, you got something?
No, I was just laughing at victim. I like it.
It's a thing. It's
Just how important it is to know your numbers.
Why?
Well, for me, personally, I'm like my own self-sabotage. Like I just get it in my head and I'm like all scattered and I don't put the systems in place and fly by the seat of my pants. And it's like if I would just chunk it down, put it in front of me and like adhere to that, it's really not as scary as it is in my brain over here.
Yeah.
As
And when you
how-
think about this, if you were to hire an employee, you wouldn't let them come in and wing it. Why wouldn't we? Welcome. Just kind of, as things come in, tackle them. Fly by the seat of your pants, do your best to keep up, and if you need me, call me, I guess. So good luck. Is that going to be how we're going to hire people?
No.
Yet, how many of you are hired yourself that way?
Yeah.
All right, come on in and just do your best, and as things come in, tackle them, and fly by the seat of your pants, and if you need something, just reach out to someone and we'll figure it out. Right? So, if you wouldn't hire someone else, yet you're allowing yourself to do it, that becomes your standard. So pretend you're going to go hire yourself.
You just do that accountability thing.
Pretend you will say, you know what, I'm tired of working in real estate, but I got a pretty good database, so I'm going to go hire Joe Schmo to just do everything I used to do. And I'll check in with Joe once a week for like 5 hours. And Joe, you better keep it up. Are you going to ask for some numbers from Joe? You should. The answer is yes.
Well, I mean, it's like I have to have everything in place.
Yeah. Well, and if you're a solo agent, have your business meeting with yourself. A little schizophrenic, but it's true. One of the reasons I love my coach is not the 30 minutes when I'm with her. It's the hour I do to prepare for my 30 minutes with her.
That's what Jen used to say about you.
Oh yeah? Perfect. I mean, it's true. Because she doesn't tell me anything I haven't already heard. She asks me questions, and I know. Here's the check. Thank you for telling me what I already knew. Yet she's worth her weight in gold because of that. Okay. Lead generation. It's changed a little bit. It says there's a message and there's a method. There's nothing unintentional about lead generation. You hear that? There's nothing unintentional. You can't just fall upon things. It's very purposeful. Everything you do should purposely move you closer towards your goal. If your lead generation is not part of a larger strategy, you're simply wasting two of your most precious resources, time and money. So when you lead gen, be strategic, be purposeful, and go get it. Stop winging it.
Say that sentence
Cynthia?
again, lead generation is.
There's nothing unintentional about lead generation. When it comes down to lead generation is taking a message and using a method to drive that message to a desired audience. We call it the message and the method, the two M's. While deceptively simple, they will form the basis for all of your efforts. Give me an example of someone who here lead generates. What is your message and what is your method? Who's had an event recently? Client appreciation event. What'd you have?
Where?
What? What was it?
We had it at the Vito Brewery.
Okay, so what was the message when you were inviting people to that?
We appreciate you, come celebrate yourself. Well, I don't remember exactly, but like.
And what was the method? How did you get that message out?
Phone calls and invitations.
Right? So it's simple. We've got something to say in a way in which we're going to say it. We have a message and a method. And this gets purposeful with it. This was a fun aha for me. And I believe a lot of this can be guilty of this. If your message does not contain a call to action, make no mistake about it, you are not lead generating, you are branding. Now, what is an example of a call to action? Come to my open house. Yeah, come to my open house.
Give me a referral.
Give me a referral. Give me an appointment. So, ring, ring. Hi, Joey. How have you been, old chap?
Doing well, how are you?
Is life good?
Life's great.
Man, I've been thinking about you.
What do you want?
I saw you're an Eagles fan. How are the Eagles going to be this year? So awesome talking to you. Glad you're doing well.
Jordan Howard.
Bye.
Branding.
What call to action I just gave my database call?
Nothing.
Make no mistake about it. I branded and not asked for anything. There's no call to action.
Just confused me.
He's an engineer. He's like, what's the point, Rick? It's Tuesday at 9:30. Why are you calling me? Get out of your comfort zone. If you find yourself hiding behind a close, start lead generating and stop branding. He says, what do you want, man? You know what? I was just calling to reconnect with everyone in my world because I know there's about 15,000 choices you could have out there in real estate. Now I want to remind you that I can be your number one choice. Joey, do you have any real estate needs in this month or the upcoming months that you can think about? No. Anyone in your world you think that you can make an introduction to for me? No. Sweet. Eagles suck. Go Bears. Talk to you soon.
You just
Right?
lost a client.
That made the touch call into, hey, this is why I'm, because maybe some of you do. For the most part, I don't want to call people just to chat. Like I don't care for the most part. Some people I care. But when I'm sitting in my office at my standing desk with my headset on, it's not the time I want to go catch up with my old college buddies. I want to do that over a beer over on a Friday night watching something. I'm calling you because I'm looking for business from you. So just be transparent with them. And you can get into more scripts and be soft. I'm giving you the CNN version. Make no mistake about it, if do not have a call to action, you are branding. Then there's another primary method. It says it's recommended that your lead gen model be prospecting based and marketing enhanced. We're going to go deeper in that topic. Be prospecting based. What is prospecting?
Cold calling.
Lead generating, pay attention to getting their client.
You doing the action and having that offensive strategy. Marketing is putting branding and messaging out there, sitting on your hands and going, come on, work. I need you to work for me. So like when I go on Facebook and I boost one of my things and says, hey, I'm going to a target audience, and I pay for it, then I go, come on, Facebook. Someone reply to that message. It's marketing, right? As opposed to prospecting, I can still prospect via Facebook by going to everybody and saying, hey, I just put this out there, who do you know would want to buy this house? A great way to prospect right now is inventory high or low? Low. So how many of us have buyers that just can't quite find the house? that becomes a call to action. Ring, ring. Hey, Debbie, calling everyone I know, I got these buyers, and they're so amazing and so deserving of a perfect house. And we've got about 60 days to find it to them, so we've got some time, but not a whole lot of time. This is what they're looking for, criteria. Who do you know that you think might have a house like this? That either they're thinking about it or they know someone else who's got a similar house. That's a prospecting with a buyer need call, right? So we can prospect as opposed to Facebook. Attention! I have these great buyers. We need a house in 60 days. Who do you know? Submits. Come on, replies. Somebody comment for me. Make sense? We know the difference? Set up a database and feed it. Systematically communicate with it. Database. Your database is what? It's tough to fill in the blank. It is your business. Without a database, you are struggling. Everything we do is to build a database. Do you agree?
Yes.
When we hold an open house, what's the point? Put the database.
Contact.
When we call FSBOs, the likelihood of them going, Tabitha, thank you for calling me. Yes, I am ready to list. Or is it to build some sort of rapport relationship, put you in my database, and follow up with me for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks? Everything we do is to build a database.
When we were at Spring Mastermind, they converted it to data bank. So for me, that made such a big difference in my head. It's a little thing, but.
And that's a number I would encourage you guys to track. How big is it? Is it growing? Because every day, your database, if you're not feeding it, it is dying. Because every day you're losing touch with somebody. Every time your listing moves, you've just lost a local raving fan sphere of influence. So they moved to Kentucky. They're out of here. Now, can you still get some stuff from Kentucky? Yes. But guess what? They're not going to be driving down here from Kentucky to go to your movie theater event anymore. It's not going to happen. You're losing database. And every day you don't talk to them, someone else is. Someone else just knocked on the door, someone else just attended their open house. Feed it. Go after it. Prospecting is pro. We already went over prospecting, so I'm good there. I think it's in this chart. Here's the difference a little bit, a little visual for you visual people. Prospecting, time intensive, isn't it? Is it easier to, is it less time consuming to email your entire database? Or to call all of them individually and invite them to your Oviedo Brewery event?
Less time.
Way less.
Yeah.
Might take more money. Invitations. Boosting. Marketing is great long-term results because it's name recognition, repetition. Prospecting gives you those immediate results. And you never get to earn your way out of either one. A lot of people only did this, and over time they spent a lot of money to get some of this. Yet every day they got to convert it, like those that wedding lead list, right? I got to go prospect with those people if I'm looking for real results, or at least a conversion rate that I know is out there. I'd say half of them are going to be doing something the next 3 years, right? I'd like to think. You get married. You guys gonna buy a house after you get married?
Maybe.
Still getting married, right? Not sitting next to each other. They're engaged. Okay, is calling FSBOs prospecting or marketing? Prospecting. Is advertising the PTA school newsletter prospecting or marketing? Marketing. Is door knocking geographical area prospecting or marketing? Prospecting. Is direct mail to newly married couples? Marketing. 90% of people get their business from 5 sources or less. The veterans in the room. Do you even have 5, or is it less than that?
Less.
Probably 2 or 3. What are your majorities? Spheres. Open house sphere. Just sphere.
Farm, college,
What's it called?
yeah,
Okay.
kind of another farm.
Let's go to farm.
Yeah.
Psycho farm, demo farm, geo farm. So your farm and sphere.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, everyone who's successful will tell you sphere is here or here. Probably here. Because what are you doing every day? We're building our sphere. in our farm, they probably go into your database in your sphere at least half the time before they list with you, because they came to one of your community events, or they've been receiving your marketing and they responded, right? Sometimes, like, I've been getting your letters forever, you have no idea who I am, but thank you for the consistency, I'm ready to list. Sometimes that happens. Okay, so keep this in mind that if you have 9 different ways in which you're going to get business, stop it. Use your sphere and 1 or 2 more. And stop it. And get singular. I rode in the truck with Jesse a little bit yesterday, just asking about business. And, I've gone a little bit to FISBO, and then some expires. And she knows she's worked with me, and I kind of go, pew.
I took it out of the car.
Now I'm like, I'm trying this, and I'm trying this, and I'm trying this, and I'm trying, oh, so great. And I was like, thank goodness I got a coach who said, stop it.